Hi folks, welcome to Input Retro Journal. I thought I'd give you an update on my Amiga 600. Obviously it's still in pieces. I've got the case here, which I'm going to clean today, so I'll bring the camera along. I'm just going to scrub it. It's also not clear whether or not it needs to be brighted. If you look at, I don't know if you can see it at this level, but there's definitely two tones here where this is yellower than that. But again, how I'm going to retro bright it, I haven't decided yet. So I think I need to clean it first before I do anything with it. I also realized that somebody took this badge off because it actually is not quite, it's got waves in it. So if anybody knows how to, I know you can probably get replacement badges, but is there a way to straighten this out, maybe with heat or just pressure? If somebody knows, let me know. My cable here has all but one wire off, and I guess these come off quite often. I think I have a drawing online that tells me which cable goes to which, so I'm not going to just plug it in incorrectly. I think also what I might do is I saw somebody replace one of these with a red one, so I might get a red one and put a red one in here for the disk drive, for the floppy, just because the Q out uses red for floppy. It's kind of nice to have 3 different colors instead of having a green and 2 yellows. Maybe that's a major faux pas for Amiga. Let me know if you think I shouldn't do that. In any case, so yeah, no pun intended. The keyboard right now is outside being retro brighted. And I'm using right now I'm using a technique called light brighting that Lego people use, and Retro Recipes kind of talked about in one of his videos. The problem with light brighting is it takes forever, and you have to actually have good sunlight days, and we've had some sun, and we've had lots of heat waves, and I don't actually want to put the keyboard outside when it's really hot, so it's a slow process. But besides that, I still don't have a power supply, and at the office there's a locked storage room with a bunch of Cisco routers that I need to get into, but it's summer and the person that has the key isn't around, so I gotta wait till they come back later on this summer to get that. So there's also might be an AT power supply in there. And then I need to create a cable, and the way I'm thinking of doing that is getting I thought maybe I could use something like this, but this is actually believe it or not, this is too thin to fit into the holes, so I need to get something thicker, so maybe very thin nails, and I'm going to mount the pattern on a piece of cardboard, and then I'm going to use a glue gun to put them in place, and then I might put a metal foil around it, and then print there is on Thingiverse, there's a case printed for it. So I might make my own cable. It might be a fun little project that might come up in the future that you can see. The metal shield is actually not that important, but just for aesthetics, if I can find, I have some thin aluminum that I could use for that, because it doesn't really do anything other than that. The ground is one of the 5 pins. So create my own cable, hook it up to power supply. Again, if I get a Cisco power supply, they have all the voltages, the right amperage, and they're actually not that big. So I might either print a 3D case for it. Somebody has done that, or might just paint it that color, depending on what it looks like. So that's all in the future. I mean, I can get a power supply for about $50, which I might end up doing depending on what we have at the office. But right now, everything is sort of delayed, and so I haven't done much with this. And I'm waiting for my keyboard, see how my keyboard comes out with light brighting. But it's very little incremental stuff each day, and I gotta wait for when the heat wave subsides and it's not so hot. And you know, we're presently in June in New England, and we've had a little bit of a heat wave. Not as bad as it's been in the Northwest and the West. But what I want to talk about today, besides maybe taking you with me to clean this, is, and I have to think about whether I want to, yeah, I mean, I want to boot this up first to see if it works, but, you know, obviously there's been some work done here. I think I pointed out last time that there's actually a surface mount. There's a through capacitor that was put in on a surface mount. But, you know, I could probably replace these and these pretty easily. It's these two that I might have to punt on. But, you know, replacing some and not all might be feasible. You know, I could probably replace these. Use the Adrian Digital's twist method and then put new ones on and order them. Another thing that I actually realized is that it's sort of a chicken and the egg problem. I do have a disk drive, and I can get certainly an IDE. Well, this is an IDE. I have an IDE cable and IDE disk drive. But how do I get I need to have at least one formatted floppy to be able to boot this machine up on. And how do you get one? Because you can't use a PC or Windows machine to format that. Now, there is a project out there that uses Arduino to sort of create a USB drive that actually plugs into a Linux or Windows or Mac, and then allows you to format and copy onto Amiga formatted. Basically, it turns an Amiga drive into a floppy, USB floppy. And yeah, I mean, I could do that, but that's just a lot of work to just get the machine up and running. So I hadn't really thought about the fact that I suppose if you get a QL, you can boot it up right away and it works. And you know, if you have the micro drives, you can format them and start using them. Whereas here, you really need to have a formatted floppy before you can boot it. And I assume if you have a formatted floppy, then you can format your IDE hard drive with software that you can copy onto the floppy. I suppose if I got a GoTech, so in other words, I seem to have to invest a lot of money into this just to get it going, because if I don't, so either I have to get a GoTech. I mean, ideally, if I got I'd want to get one of those IDE SD thingies, but yeah. But I do have some old IDE drives from long ago. But can I format them somehow to work on the Amiga without having an Amiga? Or basically, do I need to get a Workbench floppy to boot this up with, and then I can hook a hard disk in here and format it? So these are things I don't know. If you know, please in the comments let me know how I can solve this problem without spending a ton of money. Because I don't want this to become a money pit, you know. I mean, not immediately. I'd like to just get this up and going and then decide. I mean, ironically, eventually I'd like to upgrade the heck out of this. But before I do that, I'd like to actually see what kind of machine it is. So, but yeah, so also if you have a floppy with Workbench, if you could lend it to me, send it to me, I'll pay for shipping, and then I'll return it once I'm done. That would be helpful. So if any of my viewers have Amigas that you could send me a floppy, just post in the comments and I'll send you my address. I'll PayPal you the shipping cost of the floppy, and then I can just send it back to you once I've got it all configured. Again, this is going to be sort of most of my summer project because I've got other things going on and it's summer. So this is kind of moving along slowly. So if you need it back right away, but you would get it back, you know, before the end of August. Yeah, because I mean, you can go online and buy these things for like $40-50, but I mean, it's a floppy disk, and I don't necessarily want to boot off a floppy anyway. So I might get an IDE or a PCMSA, but I think you still need to be able to boot first before you can do any of that. So yeah, so lots of things to work on. I don't know yet. I keep pointing at this because I probably will unsolder this. This is not this is a thing that's PAL, which is kind of useless for me. The reason why is because one of the things I want to eventually upgrade on is I want to put perhaps either if the PiStorm for the Amiga 600, someone had made a little daughter board for, or I forget what the boards are called, where the PiStorm hooks to, for prototype for the Amiga 600. If not, there's also the Vampire, which can be a little expensive. But on top of that, there's also, I think it plugs into here, we can get, so if you do a Vampire or a PiStorm, you get HDMI out, right? I think with a Vampire board, you get HDMI out for the retalkable graphics. And then the one problem is you end up having, your images either come out of the HDMI for the high-res stuff or your RGB. But then there's also this other board that I saw on Jan Beta's did a video on this where it plugs onto this chip, and then there is a Pi Zero, so you could have either two Pis in your computer or a Vampire and a Pi and have two HDMI outputs. Well, we have a thing in the US called Freecycle where people kind of post things and say, hey, do you want it? If it's in your area, and you just go and pick it up out of their porch. And I came along this one. This is somebody had one of these they didn't want. I guess they upgraded. And this is an HDMI switch, 3-to-1 switch, 4K Ultra HD. And it's tiny. And what I want to see is it actually comes with a remote and a little remote dongle that you can plug into this side of it right here. However, what I want to check out is what's cool about this. This is pretty self-contained. The guy that gave it to me says he didn't think it needs power, but this could easily kind of be put, if I put it under here, this actually fits nicely. Yeah, it fits nicely in this slot right here. Nice and out of the way. And it can go, I think I already had it all the way in here. So it can either go this way or it could go, it's big enough to be able to actually fit in this way. And this has enough clearance to clear this stuff. And so with the RGB to HDMI, you could literally have this sitting here, remove this, put an HDMI output on here, and get these thin flex cables to have both the RGB to HDMI and either the Vampire or the Vampire's HDMI, and then see if this auto switches, and then have this cable go to the actual HDMI output here. And yeah, this doesn't get hot or anything, it doesn't use much power, and it would sit inside. It's nice and self-contained, so no shorting. I'd have to worry about, I'd probably get a ribbon cable to get around the Vampire card and everything else for my IDE card. But yeah, so this could be completely within my Amiga 600. Now, again, Retro Recipe did one where they he used for his A500, he had the HDMI to RGB to HDMI, and he also had a Vampire card, and he created a little 3D print for the 500 where you had two HDMI ports and then had this thing sitting out here. I think this sitting inside would be kind of cool, because then you know, if this can auto switch based on which is off and which is on, and if not, I suppose I could open this up and try to get the switch wired. But yeah, that's something to think about. So if I do want to pimp out my Amiga by putting a Vampire card in here, and then, or again, what I don't know is does the PiStorm give you both graphics modes or only one? And if you have the PiStorm, do you need the RGB to HDMI? Because if I do the PiStorm route, I don't know how I feel about doing the PiStorm. I'm not excited about it, but if I could get a Vampire card, which is an FPGA, it might be more interesting to do that if I want to pimp it out. So yeah, so anyway, I found this, and I want to actually test it out today to see if it actually works without power. The guy that gave it to me says even though it has a 5-volt input, he says that it doesn't need power, so I want to give that a try as well. And then maybe as a future upgrade is I could stick this in with the a Raspberry Pi and the RGB to HDMI card, as well as a Vampire, I think it's the V2 that fits in here. I think the RGB to HDMI will fit under the Vampire. I kind of was watching a few videos, so I think this could all work. All self-contained, where basically all you get is an HDMI port, and if this automatically switches, I mean, this is so tiny, the ones I've seen have been bigger. This could be a cool solution. So that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to play with this first, and then I'll take you on a trip to wash this, and then we'll call it a wrap for current state of my Amiga 600. All right, so let's clean up my table, and let's set this up and put a couple of HDMI things to it to see how this actually works. All right, so let's do that. So I have the Ultra HDMI hooked in. So because it was a pain to try to, well, I actually didn't have an extra HDMI cable, but I had one of these little HDMI pass-through plugs, and I have this. This is an HDMI to RCA. So I just have this converted to composite. So the picture won't be great, but at least this is getting HDMI out. So that goes to composite. I had to find some HDMI input. So I have this Chrome stick, which I have connected to power. So if I actually plug this in, you'll see that, I think it's this way. Yeah, so this lights up, that lights up, and that lights up. And this actually will not work with any other channel if, it's just Chromebook or the whatever it's called. Chrome TV is booting up, and so if I plug in then my so that's Chrome. Now if I switch to, and that's Amiga, so I can definitely. So the question now is, so that works, and of course I can also use this remote to go 1, 3, oh no, it won't work unless I have this thing plugged in, so I need to plug this in. So this is the little IR receiver. So now with that, I can go 1, 3, yeah, so now the remote works. And I can go 1, I can go 3, all right. But the so I'm going to not use the IR because that's not in my plans. But so the question is, if I unplug the power to Chrome, it switches. Good, yeah, that's what I want. So it switches to the one that has power. And if I then plug this in, it goes back. So it has a default mode. So that's great. So the fact that 3 was chosen, it's booting up Chrome right now. That means that this would work by constantly. So you pull the power, you go, yeah. So this thing would work, and again, doesn't get hot, doesn't require power. It's being powered off the HDMI. But let's do it one more time. And again, I would assume. Say that this is the Vampire V2 and that this is the HDMI, RGB to HDMI, and Perifractors did do an update that said that they updated the firmware in the RGB HDMI, which will power off the device completely, so that when you no longer have RGB, it would turn off, and then it would go to back to your it would go to your I guess this is the high graphics mode. And then if you wanted RGB again, it would turn on and go right back. Yeah, and so that means that this could sit inside of the Amiga. It works beautifully. I don't want to boot the right. I have to press this if I want to go to the other one. So if I have this one, now that's the default. If I unplug this, obviously nothing happens. And then if I plug this back in, oh, it still switches to that. And then if I unplug it, oh, it goes back. So it doesn't actually matter. Oh, so what happens if it's on the... What if I'm on that one to begin with? So now I'm on the Chromecast. If I unplug it, nope. It actually just goes to the live one, and then when you plug it back in, it goes back to the last one it was. Yeah. So this device will do exactly what I want. If I get a Vampire card for my Amiga 600 and the RGB to HDMI board, I could have a single output, and I think this would tuck away nicely inside the Amiga 600. I could still have the board and the floppy drive, and that would be a pretty cool setup. So let me know what you guys think. Should I know I have a few rabid Amiga fans. Should I do that? Should I take the, I mean, if I do get a Vampire card, should I put, take the RF modulator out and do that? Okay, so proof of concept done. So the last thing to do is let's go and scrub my Amiga case to get a little bit of progress going and see what it looks like. All right, let's do that. Soak it in water and scrub it. So we've got water's lukewarm. Let's see what we can see. We can see one of them, not both. All right, it's fine. This is actually not the one that's dirty, or as dirty. This is the one that needs scrubbing, so let's see if I can't scrub it. All right, and then this one is the top part, and that just needs this stuff, the grid cleaned. Oh, that came out nicely. Okay, so I think what's left to do is to rinse it out, which I'm not going to film. But I think I got most of it. So yeah, let me rinse this out and then see how much footage of this I can actually use with all the bad lighting and whatnot. And then I will show you the end result. Here we go. All right, here's the end product. Came out nice and clean. Yeah, this stuff back here, this was not so dirty to begin with. So this cleaned up nicely, and then more importantly, this part, these feet really cleaned up nicely. But let's turn it around. And so, yeah, you got most of the rust off. And if I close her up, the one curiosity is, it's really not so bad here. So I don't know if I retro brighted or not. I mean, it's definitely still a slight color, but yeah, it cleaned up well, and I think I'll leave it there. Next time, hopefully, I'll have made progress on the power and find a way to boot it up because I really want to boot it up. But I'll leave it here. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon.